This is Comcast Newsmakers.
And welcome back to Comcast Newsmakers. I'm Steve Swat. My guest this segment is David Hosley, who is president of the Great Valley Center. Thanks for being back with us.
Glad to do it, Steve.
When we talk about the Great Valley, we're talking about that area between Red Bluff and Bakersfield, which is 450 miles in length. A population that now is a little over 6 million, but will be 14.5 million by, 2050?
We're growing quickly.
Yes, the valley is growing quickly, and the problem, obviously, is how do you handle that growth? And because that growth deals with, how do you handle transportation and affordable housing and education and jobs? I mean, it's all interrelated.
It is interrelated. We've got to start with our infrastructure so that our community works. So being able to get people around effectively, have the power that we need, the water supply that we need. We're all worried now about drought and thinking more about water conservation to go along with efforts to conserve energy. But our population is going to grow a lot, and actually much of it's going to come from people who are already here. We're going to have more and more Mexican Americans. They have a higher birth rate than other ethnic groups, and so a lot of our growth that's going to be taking place over the next several decades is going to come from that community. And
I was going to say, of course, that community and the overall community is going to grow whether you like it or not. And so you think first you need to work on the infrastructure.
Yes, we haven't invested in California in our infrastructure for decades now. And while I can see Caltrans working a lot as I drive up and down the valley, that's getting better, but other things are not in place for the people who are coming. For instance, we do not have enough hospital beds in the Central Valley. We don't even have enough nurses or physicians either. And so our health care is a real challenge going forward. The encouraging thing to me is that people are planning for this, but we are going to be growing, and we're going to grow with some different kinds of dynamics than we've had to this point. For instance, we're having a serious problem with achieving the education levels that we need to have a qualified workforce in the decades going forward. We do have an immigrant population, and while we have some high education people who are immigrants to this country, other first-generation Americans really don't have a high school diploma, and some don't even have an 8th grade education. So they're here and they want to work, but there's a limited amount of jobs that they're really qualified for.
And I know that unemployment in so many of the communities throughout the valley, Central Valley, is among the highest in the country.
In double digits in a number of counties in the Central Valley. And so the other part of this is that we've got to have a better success with our education system for today's current students and the ones that are coming after them. We've got to find a way to engage students to keep them in high school at the very least. And we need to ensure that when they get out of high school that they have skills that will lead to a good job. But boy, those high school graduates, if we could get more of them to go to community college and get in a certificate program that would lead to a job, or get a 2-year degree and then be able to transfer to our great state education system, the best in the world, go to a UC or a CSU, now you're talking about some of the outcomes that we need to have. And then one more thing, Steve, we need more people coming out of our universities in the Central Valley with graduate degrees to lead our companies and provide the physicians and other professionals for our healthcare system. So across the board, our educational outcomes need to improve. And unfortunately, the Mexican-American population, the African-American population, that's where the highest dropout rates are. And so we need to work with community leaders. We need to have an across-the-board engagement to see if we can address the educational outcomes.
And of course, you need these leaders to come out of the universities, but to stay in the valley.
Yes, and we're encouraged by UC Merced. We know that the college-bound rate is accelerating pretty nicely, and in the Mexican-American community, it's also accelerating very well. So that's encouraging. But we need to have more people who graduate from our region's university stay here. And that means we need to have jobs that pay competitively, and we need to create some new jobs. So you know that we're working very hard on the green energy sector and to try to grow that sector rapidly. Fresno's focused on that, the Sacramento region as well. That would be a real step in the right direction.
All right. Well, David Hosley, the Great Valley Center, thanks for coming by, talking about
You're
the
welcome.
Enormous challenges throughout the valley. Thanks to our viewers also for watching Comcast Newsmakers. I'm Steve Swat. We'll see you next time.